And they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others Jeremiah, and others one of the prophets. What about you? Who do you say I am? And Peter answered, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, blessed Peter, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Wherever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you set loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. And then he warned the disciples, tell no one that he was the Christ. The word from the Lord in the house of the Lord. Before I start my sermon, I'm going to ask Mark to come up. Mark has indicated he would like to join our church. So, you got to pass the test now. You believe that Jesus Christ is your Savior, your one and only way to salvation. Absolutely. Will you support this church with your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your talents? 100%. Then let me welcome you as a member of the Mohave Valley United Methodist Church. We're pleased that you've joined us in fellowship as you have in the past and in membership as you have this day. Welcome. We will be accepting new members also at the 10:30 service. I should have said, does anybody else want to join this morning? If you haven't, if you want to and you need to, or maybe say, fill out an information sheet so that she had you in her records. We have some events going on that I didn't mention earlier. A 38th anniversary in a few days. And an 83rd birthday, I know I heard that one. And a birthday soon this week that is not her 83rd. I ain't going to tell you how many it is. It's not 83. I don't need to get in any more trouble than I already am. But we are going to the Hickory Pit tomorrow night. I'm getting out of trouble for 60 days. No, because we're traveling and won't work that long. Won't work that long. No. It'll probably hold me through the weekend. Who am I? You ever turn to somebody and say, who do you think I am? We got on an elevator in Kansas City, and this gentleman got on, pretty good sized guy, and I poked my wife, and she said, I said, Reggie. He said, I said, it's Reggie. And he then said, I'm Mr. October. He's trying to tell you who I am. And he got a big smile on his face because I knew who he was, and she didn't. But he was ready to tell everybody who he was. Home run hitter in the World Series. Ego bigger than Yankee Stadium. What is it that you want people to know about you? Why did Christ stop his disciples and say, hey, who do the people say I am? And they were all ready with answers. Well, you're the reincarnation of Elijah. You're Jeremiah come back. You're John the Baptist risen from the dead. But Peter said, no, you are the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, that's right. When someone asks you, or when you ask someone, whichever way the question goes, who do you think Christ is? Who do you think Jesus is? And the problem for most of us is that we don't think about Jesus in the is tense. We think about Jesus in the was. And the thing to remember is that Jesus isn't in the past. Jesus isn't long ago. Jesus is in the here and now, as we're willing to accept the fact that he gave himself up totally, absolutely, so that we would know him and we would be able to see him in our hearts and in our minds. I hope every once in a while you see him in your dreams. Just remember, when you do that, it's a vision. You can have a vision. It's allowed. If it ain't God, don't answer it. Well, maybe you better answer. He may have a better message than I got. Moses was put in a basket and set adrift in the river. And the Nile flowed fairly slowly, so it wasn't like it was a cascading river. And when the Pharaoh's daughter saw him, throw the basket and said, "What's in it?" Curiosity got her. You ladies are all alike. You got to look and see what's in the basket. You can't just take the basket. You realize that when you get married, there are two things going on. Every woman marries her husband hoping she can change him. And she can't. And every man marries his bride hoping that she'll never change. And she does. But that's the way life is. We seek things from a distance hoping for something, and when we get up to where it is, it's an entirely different thing. I had no idea what marriage was like. Never gave what marriage was a real thought. I was young and eager, like most of us guys are. And the first time I proposed to Nancy, she turned me down. Of course, it was 3 weeks afterwards. No, it wasn't quite that quick, but I thought I knew right away, and she was sure she knew wrong right away. But we entered into a relationship. We made promises to each other based on a relationship with a Christ that I didn't have. I went along, we got married in the church, and I said all those nice things that we say when we get married, and I made all those promises but I didn't really make myself part of a covenant. And I try to remind people who are getting married that you're making a covenant with Christ. And if you don't know him when you make that covenant, you need to know him very quickly after you make that covenant. I don't know how many of you got married, young and eager and bright-eyed and full of hopes and dreams that had no connection with reality at all. I just assumed everything was going to be wonderful forever. And now, in this next service, I'm not going to talk about how things aren't always wonderful forever. I'm smarter than that, but you just keep your mouth shut, too. I would appreciate it. But I had a great example. My folks were married 72 years before my mother passed. Never saw them argue. I saw them get real quiet at times and walk away from each other at times. But I never saw them argue. And I thought that's the way it would be. Missed that one, too. When we make a covenant with Christ, we make promises of how we're going to be different than we have been. We're going to make promises of how we're going to idolize and idealize that which is Christ-like. And I got, once or twice in my marriage, I got quite selfish. I did things like At one point, I was the JC of the Year in Illinois. Do you know how much time it takes to be JC of the Year? 1 year, I refereed 50 high school varsity basketball games in an 18-week season. Do you know how much time it takes? And none of it was at home. None of it was in that promise I had made that I would be one with her. So we need to be aware of the promises we make in our lives, of the covenants we make with Christ, the promises we make of what we will do with the life that He's given to us, how we will serve Him by serving those around us, and not back off, not be afraid of commitment, not be afraid of getting hurt. Twice maybe in our life that we've hurt each other, twice a day sometimes. It's going to be a really short sermon at 10:30. Who am I? He said that to his disciples. Every one of them should have known what Peter said. Why didn't they? Because they weren't sure of what was going on in their lives. They were not sure of what was going on in their relationship with Christ. But Peter spoke up. No, Simon spoke up. Because at the time he said that, he was Simon. He was not Peter. Because Peter means the rock. And that's why when he said, "You are the Son of the living God," and Jesus said, "You are Peter, and I will build my church on you, the rock." Well, each one of us needs to be a Peter. Each one of us needs to have courage enough to do the things that Christ would have us do without apologies, without second guessing, but just to realize that each opportunity we have to make a difference in somebody's life may be the only one we get. Oh, we plan on having a lot more opportunities, but that may be our only brush with that person. Carol Burnett's daughter died at a young age from cancer, and she left a note for Carol that she read after she had died. And the note said, "Our legacy is not the buildings we own, the cars we drive, or the funds we have. Our legacy is the smile we put on a stranger's face." The smile we put on a stranger. We entertain each other. We entertain each other, and we laugh together, and we'll cry together, and we hug each other, and we're happy in that relationship. But our real legacy is what we do when we're not in a close-knit family like we are here. This is you're a pretty tight bunch. You talk to each other. I've been in churches that are dead silent when you come in. Now I'm going to give you one clue of my organization. We don't pass the peace during the service. You notice that? I don't think we need to. Because you people are pretty much busy at it from the time you walk in the door until you walk out the door. We don't need to stop to do it just for a little while, because I don't want you to forget to do it all the time. Someday I'll explain my philosophy on religion, if you haven't gotten it already. Who am I? Who do you say I am? Well, you're Paul, you're Elijah, you're a resurrected John. No, Peter said it. You are the Son of the living God. And that last two words of that phrase are what we need to remember every day. We belong to the living God. He said to Moses, "You tell the people, I am. Not I was when you were in Egypt, not I will be when you're there, but I am now." And that's the wonder of wonders, that the way God has loved us and given us the salvation through Christ is because he is a God of now. Not a God of yesterday, and not just a God that we will face when we're gone. But rather he is the God of now. And he expects you to love him now. He expects you to serve him now. So when anybody says to you, who is Jesus? You can say, Jesus is the Son of the living God. There's no past tense to the love of God. There's no future tense to the love of God. It is now. Now. Who am I? I am the Son of the living God. Just as are you. Who are you? You're special in Christ's eyes. You're special because he gave you the life that you have from this point on. You're special because you've taken time to love him and opened your heart that you might be loved by him. So when someone says, who is? Say, he is. Someone will say, who is God in the Old Testament? No. There's no was. God is. Don't talk about God will be. God is. For he said, I